ZeroTaste back at it again with part 3 of my 5 things you missed in Elden Ring series, as we head across the barely guarded southern border into the Weeping Peninsula. The Weeping Peninsula is a rather strange location, as you can beat the entire game without even visiting it once. But just because it has no bearing on the main story of the game doesn't mean that the Weeping Peninsula doesn't contain its fair share of quality items, and some of which had to be cut from this list because honestly, there's a lot to choose from and I had to get it down to just 5 items that best aligned with the video's premise. Some honorable mentions that didn't make the cut were the Wing Scythe and the Twin Blade Talisman, as I felt like they were too well known. So now join me as I reveal 5 items that you missed in the Weeping Peninsula. We start in the west, as the first item that we will look at is the often forgotten incantation, Divine Fortification. Divine Fortification is the initial variant of the Lord's Divine Fortification, but it's a good alternative because you can't get the Lord's Divine Fortification until you beat her. Or you beat Malekith the Black Blade. Divine Fortification is a body buff which applies a 35% reduction of holy damage at the cost of 20 FP and lasts 90 seconds. It is dropped by a teardrop scarab found on the plains of the Weeping Peninsula where the Wandering Mausoleum roams. This incantation is an absolute blessing for anybody who plans on doing a rune level 1 run, as the Wretch starts with exactly 10 in all stats, so you can use Divine Fortification as well as the other fortification incantations. Along the coast stands a set of runes that hold more than just cobwebs. In the cellar of the Witchbane ruins, you'll find 2 things: an unconscious woman restrained to the wall, and a sorcerer's scroll from the town of Celia, the home of night sorcery, one of which I also have in my basement. The Ambush Shard is one of 7 night sorceries, and while it's not exactly the most FP efficient sorcery, it makes up with that by being easy to obtain early in the game. It comes equipped with its fair share of special quirks, such as it being impossible for enemies to dodge, which is a characteristic shared by the other night sorceries, but it also comes with a unique cast in which the shard will always spawn behind the enemy and strike them, meaning that's irrelevant if the enemy has a shield or not. So as one of the first spells accessible, it's an excellent addition to any mage's arsenal. Deep within the demi-human forest, we find not only demi-humans, but also the Shield of the Guilty. It's said that the shield's visage was made to venerate a maiden whose eyes were crushed by the briars of sin before being reborn in these lands. And that's pretty fucking metal. The Shield of the Guilty is a small shield, but as men in denial say, size doesn't matter, because the small ones have such a great personality. It comes with the Shield Bash Ash of War, which also has the ability to cause bleeding. Another feature that it has is a passive boost to focus, which can be useful in PvP. You can find the Shield of the Guilty by heading to the demi-human forest and then towards the ruins. You'll see a small square structure before the main area, and you'll have to use Torrent to jump over the wall to get inside. Then all you have to do is head down into the cellar and you can find the Shield of the Guilty. And lastly, we just have to discuss how drippy the shield is. I mean, this is peak fashion. Amidst a field of fulgur bloom in the canyon separating the eastern and western Weeping Peninsula, we find a teardrop scarab that holds the Lightning Strike incantation. Just be sure not to get jumped by the disease-ridden locals. I mean, we don't want to start a pandemic. Lightning Strike is an invocation of the strength of the ancient dragons, empowered by lightning and gravel stone. After casting, lightning strikes down in a pattern that seems random. The distribution is actually quite consistent, unlike my upload schedule. And with its moderate strength, it can be of great use when making your way through earlier parts of the game. It will likely get replaced as you get more more powerful incantations, but it can still be used in PvP for a switch up as it isn't very commonly used. Under the cover of darkness provided by the night, creatures who thrive in the dark reveal themselves, and one such creature appears in a field just outside the Morn Castle's ramparts. A death bird who appears to challenge the player, and if you're able to slay the beast, you will be rewarded with the Sacrificial Axe, a weapon that, despite its name, isn't only used for sacrificing helpless peasants to the old gods, but it also can be used to forcibly evict the souls of whoever you may choose to the same fate. But all of that voluntary and involuntary sacrificing has impressed the fellows upstairs, and they saw it fit to reward you. As such, the axe is imbued with the power to absorb the FP from slain foes. You are able to infuse the Sacrificial Axe with a lot of different axes of war, but most of you will probably use this less as a weapon and more as a utility item. Yeah, so just don't let the fact that this weapon is bathed in the souls of the innocent bother you as you carry it around for that tasty FP. So those are just a few items hidden across the enigmatic Weeping Peninsula. Let me know how many of these items you already knew about in the comment section, and if you'd just like to see another video like this on a different location. Other than that, I'd appreciate it if you left a like if you liked the video, and subscribe if you want to see more from me.